Have you ever had one of those crazy coincidences happen, and then somehow it happens again, and the second time feels, well, less surprising? It's a super weird feeling, right? Well, today we're going to dig into why that is. We're talking about the illusion of causality and why your brain is basically a pattern matching machine that just can't stand pure random chance.
So, to kick things off, let me tell you this fantastic story from the psychologist Daniel Kahneman. He's on vacation, right? On this tiny little island resort. And who does he bump into? But an acquaintance named John. What are the odds? A wild coincidence. But then get this. 2 weeks later, he's in a totally different country, sits down in a dark theater in London, the lights come up, and his neighbor is John, again.
Now, just stop and think about that for a second. I mean, objectively, the second meeting is way, way more improbable than the first one. The odds are just insane. And yet, Kahneman said he and his wife both felt it was actually less surprising. How on earth is that possible? Well, that's the big mystery we're going to unravel today. Okay, so to get to the bottom of this, we need to meet the main character in our mental show, that automatic, super fast part of our brain that psychologists call System 1. You could say its number one job is to be your own personal world builder, constantly figuring out what's normal.
So System 1 is always working, always building this model of what's normal for you. And it does this by linking ideas, events, and outcomes that seem to happen together. This model isn't just a list of memories, it's an active script that shapes how you see everything happening right now and what you expect to happen next.
And this model of normal has two different flavors of expectations. You've got your active expectations. That's when you're consciously waiting for something, like the sound of the front door when your partner gets home from work. But most of life runs on passive expectations. These are all the things you aren't waiting for, but you're not surprised by when they happen. And it's in this passive zone where our idea of what's normal can get rewritten in an instant. And check out how fast this happens. Imagine you're driving down the highway and you see a car on fire. The first time, it's a massive shock, a huge surprise. But what if, a week later, you see another car on fire in the exact same spot? Your brain instantly pulls up that first memory, connects the two, and boom, a new rule gets written. Oh, this is that spot where cars catch on fire. That spot is now forever changed in your mental world. It only takes 1 or 2 times to make something totally abnormal feel, well, kind of normal. Okay, so our brains are lightning fast at updating what's normal. But here's the catch. The system cares way more about a story that makes sense than it does about cold, hard facts. And that makes it really easy to trick. Let me show you with a classic illusion. All right, I'm going to ask you a question. Just listen carefully. How many animals of each kind did Moses take into the ark? Just let that sink in for a second. Does anything about that question seem off to you?
If you didn't catch it, don't worry, you're in very good company. It was Noah, of course, not Moses. So why do our brains just skip right over that mistake? It's because System 1 isn't a fact checker, it's a story checker. The names Moses and Ark feel like they belong together. They have what's called associative coherence. They fit the general biblical vibe, so System 1 doesn't raise any red flags. It just lets the plausible story slide right on through. But now, imagine if the question was, how many animals did George W. Bush take into the ark? You'd spot that error in a nanosecond, right? Why? Because there's zero associative coherence. Bush and the ark just don't belong in the same story. The violation of what's normal is so big, so jarring, your brain slams on the brakes and says, wait a minute, that's not right.
And this, right here, gets to the absolute core of it all. This constant search for a story that makes sense isn't just about what feels normal. It's about our brain's deep, automatic, and absolutely relentless hunger for cause and effect.
Just read these 3 sentences. Instantly, a story just pops into your head, doesn't it? Without a doubt that Fred is angry because his parents are late. You didn't consciously weigh the options. Your mind just served up that causal link on a silver platter. It automatically tossed out the irrelevant detail about the caterers and created a neat little story. And here's the kicker. You don't even get a say in this. This is not a choice. We are just wired to find causes. Our System 1 is a storytelling machine that links bits of information into a cause and effect narrative, automatically, whether it makes logical sense or not. And you see this play out in the real world all the time. This is a classic example. On the day Saddam Hussein was captured, one financial headline said that treasuries rose because the capture might not curb terrorism. Okay. But just 30 minutes later, when treasuries had actually fallen, a new headline claimed it was because the capture boosted the allure of risky assets. So the exact same event was used as the cause for two completely opposite outcomes. It just goes to show how desperate we are for a causal story, even if the story explains absolutely nothing.
So, if you think that's wild, hold on. Because this whole compulsion to find causes goes way deeper than just making up stories after the fact. It's so fundamental that it actually shapes how we perceive the world from moment to moment.
Now, this is a bit of a mind-bending idea. The process isn't see two things happen and then think about what caused them. Nope. For our brains, seeing the cause is part of the package. It's built right into the perception itself. And a couple of fascinating old experiments from psychology show this perfectly.
First up, physical causality. A psychologist named Albert Michaud showed people a really simple animation. A black square moves across the screen, it touches another square, and the second one immediately starts moving. Now, people don't describe this as two separate events. They universally say the first square launched the second one or pushed it. We perceive the causality as directly as we see color. It's an illusion, sure, but it's an absolutely irresistible one. But it's not just about physics. We're also hardwired to see intentions. In another famous experiment, people watched simple shapes, a big triangle, a little triangle, and a circle, just moving around a box. And almost everyone sees a story. The big triangle is a bully, the little one is scared, the circle is a hero trying to help. We just can't stop ourselves from seeing them as characters with personalities and goals. We can't help but see a little drama unfold. And really, this brings it all together. It seems we are born ready to interpret the world through these two distinct channels. Things happen either because of physical cause and effect, like one domino knocking over the next, or they happen because an intentional agent, a person, an animal, or even a cartoon triangle, chose to make it happen. So let's just leave it with this final thought. If our brains automatically search for causes for everything, if they are designed to see intention even in random movement, and if they're naturally prepared to think of minds as separate from physical things, what does that tell us about the near universality of some of our most deeply held beliefs? Beliefs about things like bodiless souls or immaterial gods. It seems like the very wiring of our minds makes these ideas not just easy to believe, but almost natural. Definitely something to think about.